Hello everyone, I'm Kayla, and today I'm talking about adult books. I know a lot of my videos consist of young adult and middle grade and things like that. Recently, I've heard a lot of people would like to hear about adult books, and I read a lot of them, so I'm here to recommend you guys some. I have a few that I have physical copies of, and then I have a couple on my Kindle app to show you and recommend to you, so enjoy. The first book I'd recommend is Mistress of Rome by Kate Quinn, and don't be fooled by the cover. It is not a romance book. There is romance in it, but it is about political intrigue and corruption and amazingly detailed and thought out characters and villains you just want to hate. It's about a slave girl who falls in love with a gladiator, and then somehow, someway they get separated. I'm not going to say how. And she ends up as the emperor's mistress. The emperor is not a good guy. This is actually part of a series. However, this can also be a standalone. And I love this book so much. And it takes place in ancient Rome. And it's scandalous and it's addicting, and there's action and there's heartbreaking moments. What book doesn't have heartbreaking moments? I recommend it to anyone who loves historical fiction, and I actually read her other books as well, and they're just as good, but this was the first one that I ever read and I loved it. So yes, check it out. The next book I'm recommending, I don't really understand why it's classified as an adult book, but if you're a fan of YA looking to branch out into the adult genre, I recommend you check out Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I loved this book. It's all the hype on BookTube, so of course I had to pick it up, so I bought it from Thrift Books for $3. It was so good, filled with 80s pop culture references, and it's about a guy living in the future. The earth is terrible, and everyone in it would rather just live in the Oasis, which is this virtual world filled with virtual things. I can't really explain it. The creator of the Oasis dies, and instead of giving a will, he created a contest through the Oasis. The winner of this contest gets his whole inheritance, so it is action-packed. Love the characters. Love the whole idea of the virtual Oasis. Check it out. I'm going to say check it out a lot in this video. Mabi. The next book I'm recommending is probably one of my favorite books of all time. For real. 11/22/63 by Stephen King. Before this book, I had never read a Stephen King book because I don't like horror. I don't like horror at all. But this book was fantastic, and now I realize why everybody calls Stephen King the king of writing, because it's true. For those of you that don't know the date, it revolves around the JFK assassination, and it's about time travel, and you know how much time travel is awesome. It is long. Don't be intimidated though, because they're short chapters. It goes quick. Please just try it out. The research that went into this book is just incredible. I learned a lot reading this book. The characters are amazing, and just check it out, please, because it's so good. The next book I'm recommending is mainly for all you ladies out there. Jennifer Weiner is one of my favorite adult authors. You cannot go wrong with Jennifer Weiner if you're looking for chick lit, which I call, it's like a chick flick but book. And yes, I recommend In Her Shoes by Jennifer Weiner. And yes, this was the movie with Cameron Diaz and Toni Collette, which was fabulous. All of her books are amazing. Jennifer Weiner creates amazing characters with so much developed backstory. It's crazy. And they have flaws. You sympathize with them. You relate to them. She writes about real women, and it's just amazing. Her books are so incredible. And this book is about two sisters who are polar opposites, how they fall apart and how they always manage to come together. And I loved every minute of this book. Also by Jennifer Weiner, I recommend The Next Best Thing, because that's my favorite, because I could relate to it so much. It's about a writer who moves to LA with her grandmother to write a television show, and it's amazing. So I recommend The Next Best Thing by Jennifer Weiner as well. The next book I'm recommending is called 6 Years by Harlan Coben. Harlan Coben is one of my favorite authors. He writes mystery thriller books, and they're quick reads, and They're awesome and full of plot twists. He just writes books that just are page turners. I know that's cliche to say, but definitely a page turner. I think I read this one in one sitting, actually. It's his latest book. He comes out with one once a year, and my dad and I have this tendency to find an author and then proceed to read everything written by them, and he was one of those authors. So this is his latest book. It's about a guy who watches the love of his life marry someone else, and then 6 years later, he sees that her husband had died and he just has to see her again. So he goes to the funeral and the wife turns around and it's not her. So everything he's known was a lie, and it's just... check it out. I can't have a recommending adult books video without recommending this. You all know what's probably coming. Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. This is the first book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. For those of you who don't know, it's also a TV show on HBO if you've been living under a rock. This book is a monster, I'm not gonna lie. I think it's 800 pages. But please, once again, don't let the length intimidate you, because you can just take it one chapter at a time. Every chapter is told from a different character's perspective. The read is a quick read, and if you're looking to branch into fantasy, honestly, people call this high fantasy, but really it's more of a medieval political thriller with corruption and awful characters. This book is filled with characters that you love to hate, and every character is developed. Even the most minor characters are developed. It's crazy. And the world that this is set in, the fictional world of Westeros, is just incredibly detailed. I don't know how it's possible that it's so detailed. It's cray-cray. And I highly recommend that you check it out at some point. The next book I'm going to recommend is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, and yes, that's how you pronounce it because I googled it. Oh my god, this book. It is a thriller, a psychological thriller. 50% of the way through this book, there's a huge plot twist, and you're just like, oh my god, are you serious right now? Like, it is legit. It took me a while to get over the plot twist because I was just in awe of the characters that she's created, of the nitty-gritty things that make you just want to take a shower. Her characters are so flawed, it's ridiculous, but that's what makes it addicting. And oh my god, this book. It's about this guy, Nick Dune, who discovers that his wife is missing on their 5-year anniversary, and I can't say anything else other than that because I don't want to spoil anything for you. This book is a fantastic roller coaster ride of suspense and mystery, and definitely one of my favorite books of the year by far. She also has 2 other books, Dark Places and Sharp Objects, which are equally as good. I highly recommend Gillian Flynn. She's amazing. The next book I'm recommending is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. His writing is just incredible, and the characters he creates, the situations he talks about in his books, they're all set in the Middle East and the things that they go through. Just a warning, there's some intense elements in this book, and this book is about 2 boys in Afghanistan, and it's just heart-wrenching but so real and just eye-opening. I actually read his other book, A Thousand Splendid Suns, which is about 2 women in Afghanistan. I actually like that even more than this one, and his books, you just can't go wrong. His latest book, And the Mountains Echo, that was really good as well, and I highly suggest that you check out The Kite Runner. Get the box of tissues. The next book I'm talking about is by one of my favorite authors, and his name is James Rollins. I have a little literary crush on James Rollins. I'm pretty sure I do. He writes action-adventure books. This one that I'm recommending you is Ice Hunt. It's one of his standalones. It takes place at the Arctic Circle, and there's conspiracy and action. All of his books have the habit of taking place in like a day or two, so it's just action-packed, non-stop. It reads like a movie. So entertaining. The characters are awesome. I love the creatures he creates, and the technology he talks about in these books is incredible. And at the end, there's always a section called Fact versus Fiction, and most of the technology he talks about in his books really exists, which is mind-blowing to me. And this is one of my favorites, so I highly suggest that you check it out. Also, my favorite by him is Amazonia. It's kind of the same deal, but it takes place in the Amazon jungle. Bravo! So good! Check it out. Another book I'm recommending is by Meg Cabot, the author of the Princess Diaries series, and I'm recommending Queen of Babel. And yes, this is the first book in the Queen of Babel trilogy. However, this could be read as a standalone, and actually I think I might prefer it as a standalone. It's hilarious. It's about this girl who goes to England to visit her boyfriend of 3 months, and they only ever saw each other once before that, and the trip turns terrible really quickly. So her friend is staying over in France, so she hops on a train to go to France to meet her friend who's staying at this amazing mansion. And while she's on the train, she confesses like every bad thing she's done to this stranger sitting next to her, and it's hilarious. And it ends up that the stranger sitting next to her owns this mansion she's going to. So yeah, embarrassing. It's a light read. I mean, you gotta love books like this sometimes, you know? You're in the mood to laugh, you're in the mood for something light, especially after Gone Girl. If you pick up Gone Girl, you need something else, you know what I'm saying? This book will forever be one of my favorites, and I highly suggest that you check it out. The last book I'm recommending is The Help by Catherine Stockett, and I actually went to a meet and greet with the author and saw her and got to hear her speak, and it was amazing, and she signed my book. It's exciting to me. And this was also turned into a movie that was a fabulous adaptation. It was actually nominated for an Oscar. And I love Octavia Spencer, who plays a minor character in the movie, and she actually won the Oscar for it. I gave her a standing ovation in my living room. I was so happy. It takes place a little after the Civil Rights Movement. It shows how blacks were still treated in the South even after all the laws were passed, and how these black women took care of the white women's children. And it's just really amazingly written. The chapter perspectives are actually written the way that they would speak, so it's kind of different to read it. And I just loved this book so much. I loved the characters, and then of course you have characters that you love to hate, and I just adore this book so much, and I recommend it to anyone. Okay, that was my first recommending adult books video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and there will be more. This is probably going to turn into a video series. Let me know below which one sounds the most interesting to you. Let me know what your favorite adult book is, or if you've read any of these, and I hope to see all of you in the future. Bye! I just can't even... A Game of Thrones, right? The Game of Thrones. Oh my god, I just messed up. To collect trophies, I think. I don't remember. I'm terrible at this. That I have physically. Ready Player One.